Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. My name is Heather, and on this channel we like to walk a very fine line between a shopping addicted makeup monster and a responsible adult with a makeup hobby. Now, I really enjoy eyeshadow singles, duochromes, multichromes, blush, highlight, lip gloss, basically everything except pressed glitter. And today we're going to be doing my March palette ranking video. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, stick with me, we're getting into it right now. Okay, so as you guys know, I had a bit of a hiatus, which was unplanned, but since then I've of course been continuing to try other makeup and other palettes, so I wanted to come through and show you guys everything that I tried. And then I have a couple of products that came in these collections that I'll just mention as I get to them. So the first one at the very bottom, is Colourpop Limelight. I saw this palette and I was like, yes, send it to me right now. I actually got on Colourpop's website instead of waiting for it to come to Ulta, ordered this bad boy and was like, bring it to me. And I picked it up with something else, which you'll see much later, but this one, I like it, but it's not bright enough for me. Like when I see this kind of packaging, I'm thinking like neon or near neon vibes, right? And what I got inside was more like pastel beach vibes, like sea glass kind of stuff. This shade can kind of get mid-tone, but this shade, they're very, very, very soft, and they don't show up super well on my skin tone, which I'm pretty fair to begin with. So I like it. I think the shimmers are nice, but I just think it should have been more bright, more impactful, more interesting. I did also pick up the trio of Jelly Much shadows with these, and I've tried, which one was it? Heartthrob, I think? Oh no, Memoir I tried, which is the lightest of the three, and I do think they're very pretty as well. But I was expecting something a little different out of this collection, so it wasn't necessarily for me. Alright, next palette up, number 9. This is the Odin's Eye Saga Freya palette, which is an older palette. But I was seeing a lot of videos like talking about this palette, and I got really excited about the combination of like the minty greenish blue shades and the oranges, and I saw some looks that they put together using the shimmers in here, and the shimmer formula in here is so pretty and special that I just was gravitated towards it. So I picked it up and I've used it a couple times, but I think in my mind I had built it up more than what it actually was going to be for me. It's kind of a challenging color story to use, so I haven't used it as much as I would like. I do think it's a really good formula, it's good quality, but it just, I think in my mind I hyped it up more than I needed to, so it floated down to number 9. Coming in at number 8 is the Beauty Bay and Ayo Coralie palette. This is a collab palette that they put out about a year ago, and it was like out of stock for forever. They had taken it off the website, and then randomly I'm scrolling through and I see not only is it back on the website, but it was on sale. So I went ahead and picked it up. These shades here and these shades here were intended to be neon shades. These and these were intended to be pastel shades. You had more warm tones and cool tones. You had 2 face highlighters and then 2 shimmers. And I think the concept for the palette is really cool. I love the artwork of it, this kind of like goth punk vibe. Like I'm all for all of that. I think the colors do go nicely together, but it's basically a rainbow palette, right? At the end of the day, so you know there's only so much that I'll do with this palette by itself, but I think whenever I want to use like my special shades from Divina, Cleona, things like that, that this kind of palette would be great to complement that. So it floated down to number 8, but it is good quality, and if you're interested in a rainbow palette, I would definitely recommend it. Alright, coming in at number 7, that is the Gourmonde Girls Cosmetics Time of Year palette. So clearly I did not pick this up at Christmas time when it came out, but when it came out I was really drawn to all the blues and purples over here. The shimmers that run down the middle of this are truly spectacular shimmers. They have this really pretty, how do I want to describe it? They have almost this like oily slip to them that makes them spread very nicely across the lid. I do get a little bit of creasing with them though. I also did one neutral look using the kind of brown tones over here, and I thought that came out really beautifully. So I think this is a beautiful palette. I'll be so excited to bring it out again around Christmas time. And yeah, this, you know, I had some other stuff that I liked a little bit better, but I think this was great quality and I really enjoyed playing with this one. So coming in at number 6 then is the Unearthly Cosmetics Sleepover palette. So when they advertised this on Instagram, I was like, yes, sign me up, let me buy it twice, because I was so excited. It's of course like a pinky palette, which you guys know I'm all about the pinky palettes, and I loved the idea of this super dark, almost like burgundy brown with copper shimmer in it, and this really smoky, plummy, almost like burgundy shade. So I picked this one up, super happy with it. The only kind of downside for me is that the only kind of lighter matte is this very like cool toned kind of lilac-y pink shade, and when I mix it with everything else, it kind of looks a little off. Like the undertone of it doesn't quite fit with everything else, so I'm not a huge fan of that particular aspect of it, but the shimmers are great, the deeper mattes are great, and you know, the rest of it I can't be too upset about. I did also pick up the 3 cheek products that came with this collection. Hopefully at some point I'll get the video up with that, but it's Charmed, which is again kind of that lilac-y pinky purple, Cherub, which is a little bit softer of a more neutral pink, and then Bow and Arrow is the highlighter, which is like a pink to gold duochrome. Literally one of my favorite duochromes. I probably have it about 100 times over, but I thought those were really pretty. I really enjoyed the formula, so definitely I was happy with everything. Just that one light shade, I feel like the undertone could have been fixed up a little bit. Coming in at number 5, this is the Sigma and Cinderella palette. So I've been wanting to try Sigma for ages, and every time I saw one of their palettes I was like, that's probably not the palette for me, but I'll, you know, keep an eye out and see what else I come across. And then they released this one, which just had all these really pretty, like deeper jewel tones. You had these really pretty shimmers. I was so excited to play with this one. I've done neutral looks with this one on this side of the palette. I've done some more colorful stuff with this side of the palette, and I've enjoyed every single look that I came up with. There's definitely not a lot of like light shimmers, because all of these have a pretty deep base. Like even if you see them like at an angle, they have a pretty good deep base. So if you're looking for something like light as an inner corner or something like that, you may have to dig into another palette or your singles, but the quality on this one is phenomenal, and based on the quality of this palette, I would definitely be interested to try more. I'm wondering if they're going to do any other like princess themed palettes, because this is the only princess one they have so far, but I would definitely be open to that. The next palette to talk about, this is number 4, is the Sugar Drizzle What If I Fall, Oh But My Darling, What If You Fly palette. I hate the name, and I hate the art. It just looks absurd. It's very clip arty, it's very like 5th grade reading project presentation PowerPoint kind of vibes. But the inside color story is really pretty. If you've ever used any of the shimmers from like It's Belle or who else does shimmers like this? There's a handful of indie brands that do shimmers like this, but they have that really pretty like buttery smooth texture. That's what these shimmers are, and I really like that. You've got 2 kind of like multi-chromatic shades here and here, and then everything else is duochromes. I like this yellow shade, and I love this green shade, but it pulls very pink when you put it on because it's a green to pink duochrome. So when I see it in the pan, I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna put this green on, and then I put it on my lid and I'm like, oh yeah, it's pink. And so that kind of is jarring for me, but I think overall the color story is really pretty, and I'm always gonna be a sucker for like greens and blues in a palette, so it rose all the way up to number 4 despite the ridiculous packaging. Coming in at number 3. Now this one, I found this so randomly from the Indie Mood Awards. I was on their Instagram account casting my votes, because they do like votes every year for influencers, makeup brands, packaging, formulas, all kinds of stuff. And I ran across this brand, which is called Unicorn Gang Shop, and they had this like dark mermaid palette, which when you open it up, it looks like this. It was like swampy vibes, and I love like the artwork, the packaging and everything looked so pretty. The photographs they have of this on their website were really pretty, so I ended up ordering it. It wasn't too expensive, and I found a random influencer code to use that took a couple bucks off, so I think I got it for around like 22-25 bucks total shipped. But I really like this palette. This mossy green shade is so pretty on the lid. It's very like smoky and grungy. The navy in here, although it's very dry, it's very pigmented, so I do really like that as well. I think the shades work really nicely together, and I love that it's not just like a monochromatic. Like I feel like I need more of this in my life to push me outside of just having like one color on my eyes. So this one, I dug into it frequently throughout the last 2 months, so it made it all the way up to number 3. Okay, number 2. Number 2 is a pretty one, you guys. This is the Odin's Eye and Angelica nyqvist Hela palette. So when they first sneak peeked this, I was like, if it's not Angelica nyqvist, I'm going to eat my socks. Like, there's no way it's not, because I saw the blonde hair and everything. I was like, this has to be her. And when they announced that it was her, I was like, yes. Yes, let's do it. Because I have her other palette, the Club Nebula, and it's a wonderful palette. So I ended up picking up this one too, which looks like this. And again, it's got this... So it reminds me of Melt 420 in that Angelica loved the color story but hated the formula. So I think it's kind of funny how she ended up getting something very similar in this palette with a couple extra shades thrown in. But the top 2 shades, or the top like corner here, reminds me of that Melt 420 palette. Then you've got these 2 pops of like deeper greens. You've got this beautiful row of pinks. And then this row down here is where this palette shines. This shade here is a multi-chrome, and it definitely shifts. Woo! Are we going to catch the shift? Probably not. It shifts like a bunch of different colors, but it has kind of a strong orange at the direct light, and then shifts kind of to yellow and almost a limey green on the side. And then you have this really pretty duochrome here, which I've used several times. It's kind of one of those burgundy red bases with like a blue purple shift. Very, very pretty. I love this soot shade. She's very bright. There's almost like an element of gray, plum, brown, burgundy that all kind of work together, and it creates this beautiful smoked out look without being just a pure black. So I do really like that. And then this shade Complete is this like beautiful metallic black. I've been on hunts for metallic blacks recently, so this really caught my eye. I have liked using this palette so much. I've used it so many times in the last few months, so it climbed all the way up to number 2 like no problem. And I actually thought it was going to end up being number 1, but then as I looked at the palettes, I realized there was one palette that I was returning back to even more than the Hela palette, and that was the Colourpop and Darth Vader Star Wars palette. I know, I don't really care about Star Wars, but this color story is so pretty to me. These 2 shades here are like the perfect level of cool taupe to use as like a blending out shade and just above my crease. I love using these 2 shades in my outer corner, and then I like taking either Death Star or Gone Galactic all over my lid with Stormtrooper in the inner corner, and then Dark Side like smoked out on the edges to really bring up that like depth and really make this an interesting look. The only thing that I don't typically use is the shade I Am the Master, the bright red, because I don't know, like it goes, but it doesn't, you know what I mean? So when I go into this, I want like Melt Mary Jane, like that smoky gray, taupey kind of look. But I used this probably 8, 9, 10 times in the last 2 months. Like I just keep digging back into it. So for me, it had to go all the way up to number 1, and it had to kick Hela out of the way because I just was using it more. So this ended up being my number 1 palette. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I'm going to catch you in my next video. Bye!